Running Sentences presents A Spy's Dagger, Part 1. Stealing something. The king has requested that a local duchy be investigated, back taxes, unfriendly duke, and a variety of things going on, meaning that Dante has an ugly job to do. This story is written and narrated by Michael Henry. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within the story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and/or fictional businesses, characters, events, and so on is purely coincidental. Copyright 2025, Michael Henry. All rights reserved. Few things in the world gave Dante as much pleasure as a nice library did. The one at Frederick's castle was a fair one to settle down into to read whenever caught one's fancy. His interest right now, though, was fake reading, since Frederick's daughters would not leave him alone for more than a few moments, ever since his arrival.
Dante, you must listen to us. Yes, please do listen to us instead of reading a dreadful book. You're far too handsome to spend time reading, isn't he, Martha? Quite so, Penny.
Thank you, but I'd rather be reading right now. The fact that he was expecting certain events to unfold at any moment more on his mind than these two ladies. They were both attractive, but they were also part of a duchy that was not in the favor of the king right now.
You always say that and never spend any time with us. Why is that?
My reason for being here is quite simple, Miss Penny. It's to study at the behest of the Duchy of Mitra. Anything else is considered sacrilege, as lovely as it would be better to get to know the two of you.
Well, he's no fun at all, and I have no idea what you see in him, Penny. He's not going to save us from this dreadful place. Me? Martha? I think it was both of our ideas to try and seduce the man in the hopes that he would take us away. Don't say that out loud. Father might be nearby and take a chance to yell at us.
I think he'll do much worse than that, sister. Dante sighed to himself, rolling his head to look out the library window that he sat next to. The place was poorly lit, and the only good way to read was by this window. It also happened to offer one of the few unobstructed views of the courtyard below, which now had several horsemen in the king's uniform crowding into it with swords and pistols drawn. Girls, ladies, I think you might have much bigger problems at the moment. The king's guard has arrived at your father's estate outside, and are in the courtyard. They rushed forward, pushing him out of the way, when with a scrape of the chair, his chair did move. He could mostly still see the sort of leader of the group had taken their horse a few steps forward and was looking about. A group of guards and servants for the duchy gathered around as Jules, the matron and duchess of the family, stepped out of the castle. The words from this man were loud, but not loud enough to get up to the fourth floor and through the window where they were.
What do you think is going on? A king's man? That can't be good. They only want money. That's the only thing they're ever after anyway, Penny. Dante, what do you think of all this?
If I knew, I would tell you, Martha. I don't know what they're doing, but I'd wager it probably isn't good.
Should we go see what's going on? No, Martha. They will only listen to boring speeches about right and wrong. We should go hide. Oh, God, you're right. Let's get out of here,
Martha said with a nod to her sister. The two ladies, in a bustle and a hurry, ran away from the room with their dresses rustling as they went. It was nice to be alone now, but now he had a new worry. Do I go down or not? They may be here for me after all, and who knows what the Duke has been up to. He looked out to see that the Duke had now joined the group outside, listening to whatever was being said. Watching for a moment more, Dante decided now would be a good time to vanish as well, and turned to leave. A simple bedroom had been afforded to him upon coming here. The Duke had been nice enough to allow him that perk to be granted as he stayed. He was busy packing some stuff into a bag when a guard came hurrying in without knocking first. Mr. Caleb, is that you?" "It is, sir. There is a request for your presence at once in the courtyard." "What for?" Dante asked. I was not told what it was for, sir." "Well, I do have some important matters to attend to, so apologies, I cannot go." "I'm not sure that is acceptable. In fact, I'm to drag you there if necessary." "Are you going to knock me out?" "If that's what it takes, then I'm authorized to do that, yes." With a grimace, Dante reached to a nearby bag that lay on his bed. There were a variety of things he could grab from in there that would aid him in getting away. But did he really want to hurt this Caleb? It felt so unnecessary to do something like that. No, he'd need something a little more confusing than just knocking him out. So Dante gently pulled a thin-looking needle that dripped a little, and then turned to this guard. "We don't want that, now do we?" "No, I would prefer not to drag you out of here, sir, knocked out or not. But I will point out I am stronger than you might think I am. Parents always said that my appearances were deceiving." "Is that why you're always around the sisters' bedrooms at night, fooling everyone into thinking you're guarding them, deceiving them with your appearances?" The guard was taken aback for a moment, and even took a step back. Confusion crossed the man's face as Dante slowly and carefully approached him, so as not to spook him. I don't know what you're talking about, sir." "You are visiting the ladies' quarters at night. Most know you do it, but don't comment on it. We can keep this between us, though, and I won't inform the Duke of what you're up to, or maybe that you're a traitor to him." You're getting off topic. I need you to go down to the courtyard." "No, I was just getting closer to you." Now but a step away from the guard, Dante grabbed at the man's neck with one hand and then, with his other, poking it instead of going for a full grab. The needle had been wrapped around against his pointer finger, using a small ring-like device that only went to the first knuckle. With this poke accomplished, Dante then took a step back. "What was that? What were you trying to do? What did you grab me? What was that? Why does my neck hurt?" Caleb said this as he grabbed at his neck, in pain and infuriated rage. "I have no idea what you're talking about. You came in here saying all sorts of strange things and complaining about that your neck already hurt." Caleb looked at him very confused, shaking his head no. What are you talking about, sir?" "I think you had a fall and hit your head on your way here. It's okay. You were in a rush since I called for you." Dante kept a careful eye on the man to see that the poison he'd given him was working. It confused the person for a short time, which is what he needed, and he needed it to move quickly but carefully. "You called for me? I was sure I was sent here." "Yes, for you to come here anyway. I've heard that the King's Knights are here, and I wish to speak to their leader, but I need a private place to do so. Tell them, their captain or whoever's in charge of those knights, to meet me up on the wall ramparts. Okay?" The guard kept shaking his head no, but Dante patted the man's shoulder, grabbed his bag from the bed, and turned to leave. Are you sure, sir?" 100%, Mr. Caleb. Please go tell them right away." It was quite windy up at the ramparts, and thankfully there were few guards out there. A few were here and there, since this was a town unlikely to ever be attacked. Well, money could be saved, according to the Duke, when Dante had asked about it, and so few were actually ever up there. The sound of footsteps hurrying up a nearby stairway drew Dante to glance over at the nearby wall towards the moat below. It was a drop of 40 feet or so, which caused his stomach to lurch thinking about it. "Mr. Dante Smithy, there you are." "Ah, you're the captain of the King's Knights, I take it," Dante said. If I am Mr. Dante. Well, that would be a good thing. I needed to chat with you to proclaim whatever I didn't do. You don't know what you're being accused of, though. Well, that's the king. It doesn't matter what I've been accused of. He wants a price paid for a crime he believes has been committed, and so you must follow through on that. With as much agility as he could muster, Dante jumped up onto the ramparts of the wall. To this, the captain drew out his rapier blade, pointing it towards Dante. He didn't draw his pistol, though, and the two stood staring at one another for a moment, waiting for the other to make a move that would topple things over. What do you think you're doing? Oh, I'm just preparing for the worst, and you? What are you doing? I was called up here told you want to talk. Talk doesn't catch the king's ears, actions do. You know that by drawing your own blade. I can put it away. But you don't. The answer is already decided, and we both are aware of it. Though I am curious as to what exactly I have done wrong. Well, if you get off the wall, Mr. Dante, I will tell you. To that, Dante cocked his head to the side, since there were plenty of ways to cooperate with that request. Some of them, though, did not get him his fact. No, tell me, or I jump. Why would I care if you jump or not? He had to shrug at the captain's question. It was true that caring about what he did wasn't going to be high on anyone's list, let alone a captain of the King's Guard. Well pointed out, sir. I guess I have no choice, then. None. With a nod, Dante jumped over the side of the wall towards the moat. He was hoping that his research into the moat was all correct and that no one had lied to him. There was a good chance that they had, and it would be shallower than anticipated. But it was a risk worth taking, for the most part. Dukes and lords and all the other royalty had to protect themselves, and after all, in telling people about how deep or shallow a moat was, well, that would put you in danger, wouldn't it? The only saving factor being that lately no one had bothered doing a whole siege on the castle tactics in the past 50 or so years. Dante shut his eyes as the water rapidly approached and prayed to a god he wasn't sure existed that for once things would be slightly okay and in his favor. The cold water greeted him with a rather heavy thud-like feeling. It knocked his senses a bit askew as he tried to figure things out. Up and down currently didn't make much sense, other than they were somewhere around him. There wasn't much time to think, though, and he needed to move, since there wasn't much time for anything. Holding his breath wasn't a great idea, as Dante looked about, opening his eyes, choosing a direction, and pushing himself as hard as he could towards that. With a splash, he broke the water tension and into the not far from the shore, and noticed that the water here was in fact moving rather quickly. It was a steady tug towards the side where the water quickly disappeared off into some sort of thing. Not exactly what he wanted to see or worry about, and he'd forgotten to check if the moat had a runoff for the rainy season. His attention, though, was quickly tasked with something much more important, looking back up the wall to see if anyone was looking for him. It didn't appear to be the case, but just to be on the safe side, he decided to let the little stream take him further away from this moat and away from here. The water, surprisingly, took him a good ways away from the castle, and never went towards town, instead cutting its way into the landscape. A lucky fortune for him as he now swam to the shore and got out in the wooded area. A brief thought of getting out of his clothes so that he could eventually dry them crossed his mind, though the sound of nearby horses alerted him that he was near a road, and running away naked, if he was caught, probably wouldn't work out well. Well, at the very least, I might hitch a ride out of here. With a purposeful step, he moved through the woods and towards the road. It wasn't a busy one, but a few horse riders were rushing down it. Dante frowned at the sight, trying to figure out which way he should start heading and if he should close to it or not. It was a nice road, and it just seemed to cut its way through these woods. It felt like a bad idea when carriages came rattling down, not quickly, but at a good pace, with the driver meeting his eyes for a moment. This latest car. It felt like a bad idea when he saw a carriage come rattling quickly, but at a good pace, and the driver's eyes met his the moment Dante had accidentally stepped too far out. These horses were quickly reined in. Whoa, whoa, horses! Driver, why are we stopping? There's a man by the side of the road, miss. A woman's head poked out the door of the window of this carriage, her eye raising at the sight of Dante. A sight that most ladies do not want to see. I think most ladies would like to see a man wet, since when else would they get to see such a thing until they're married? But there are plenty of times when they can see it. You are nothing more than a cad. Maybe, but would that make you a fair lady, whose drivers stop at the side of a single man by the road? Are you just a tart looking for fun, but on the more expensive side? His words earned him a growl as the door was thrown open, and out kicked a heavy-looking box. It hit the ground with a thunk, and the door snapped shut again. You should treat people better. I paid you well enough for your work. You said to meet you in town, the woman exclaimed. The plan changed. You were well aware of that, and I told you of all the other plans. Yes, but the town is now crawling with guards who will be coming this way any second. Well, if you wish to leave, Miss Isla, the road is open from here to the next town, and no one will ever know you are involved. She narrowed her eyes at him as he steps aside to show the clear road. Well, I guess if you're fine, then I'm fine. I don't see why you wanted this thing anyway, but how are you going to get away? I'll be fine, thank you for your worry. Driver, I think your lady wishes to get out of here before anyone else shows up. Yes, sir, but, clear the luggage by the side of your carriage. If you wouldn't mind, sir. Dante quickly moved over, grabbing it and hauling it a few feet away. The driver watched for a moment, and then once it was really clear, he got his horses going again. A moment later, they were gone from sight, and still soaked and wet, Dante sat down on his newly captured item to wait for his next victims. Well, things didn't exactly go to plan, but I've never gone to plan before in the first move, so that's okay. Now I just hope my backup plans don't fall to shit either. Sitting for half an hour and drying himself out a bit was nice. The road at this point remained empty during this time, leaving him alone with his thought. A fine thing is he had to figure out how to get him and this case, the hundreds of miles, back to the capital, and of course he had no great solution to this. The sounds of horses in the carriage approaching broke him out of his train of thought, allowing him to see a group of knights, led by that captain from before, quickly approaching. There you are. Oh, fun, just who I was looking to run into. A few of the knights dismounted from their horses, hands heading for their weapons. Dante knew enough not to try anything, since this group really did look ready for a fight. Why did you run away? I believe I've already said that the king won't listen to what I have to say, thus making running away the better option, Captain. Well, now you're under arrest, and we'll go to see the king about this whole affair. Soldier, arrest this man and make sure that thing he's sitting on comes with us. Two soldiers had drawn their swords and marched towards him. Slowly raising from his seated position, Dante put his hands in the air. Sir, why do we need that box? The soldier asked. Because he didn't have it before, and when he got away, and yet now he has it. Something tells me it might be of great importance to the king. Well, I wouldn't say great importance, but maybe it would help people understand what's going on in certain places? Shut up and get marching towards that carriage, Dante. Soldier, put that box onto the carry luggage rack of the carriage. Let's get this done and get on with it. It's 2 days back to the capital. No more time to waste. Can I protest this treatment, Captain? You can, and it will be ignored, Mr. Dante. Get him out of my sight so that we can get going. The 2 soldiers sheathed their sword and guided Dante to the carriage to the back door, which they opened for him. There were a few other criminals in the back there, and looked up as the door opened, letting light spill into the back of this dark chamber. With a heavy sigh, he got in. The carriage rolled and rattled its way down a road. Or at least that's what Dante assumed was happening. It would be funny if they were in the same place they had been and the soldiers were merely rocking the carriage back and forth. Things that were quiet in here, with no one talking to one another, though there were a few moans coming from the darkness. It was hard to tell since it was really hard to see in here. When things stopped, he looked towards the door, wondering if they'd be taken out of here. The door did open, spilling in some sort of light that appeared to be in a storage stable of some sort. Right, you lot. Your dinner. No complaints about it. We deserve better treatment than this. We all do, but you're accused of crimes. This is your treatment until you get proven innocent. The guard barked. Do we get compensated if we're proven innocent? Another of the prisoners called out. Well, that's for the king to decide. Take it up with him when you see him, if you get that far. What do you mean if we get that far? Who knows if he'll have time for you. If he doesn't, you could get one of his ruthless donors. They love to mess with the likes of you folks. Dante took a quick look around now that there was light in this cabin of this carriage. He realized there were in fact a few women among the men, and one child, and with a shake of his head he wondered what was going on that they'd all been collected. That doesn't sound fair. Life is only as fair as the person above you lets it be. Now, do you want your food or do you want to chat all night? Food! 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 The prisoners chanted. 3 large metal bowls plopped onto the floor of the carriage from an unseen source behind this guard at the doorway. Eat up. We'll be watching for anything. Your next meal will be in the morning. We're getting started early in the morning. There were groans from the people on board, but most hurried forward to dip their hands into the food to get some. For Dante, though, it was a no rush. Food was good, but lasting a day without one wasn't much of a big deal. Plus his big breakfast this morning, not eating a bit easier to stomach. No, he was more curious about the guards as he glanced at the room out there than he saw. There were 7 of them from what he could see from his position, and all looked ready for a fight. So he looked away towards the prisoners. The rest of the prisoners, though, were quick, fast, even, and the food was soon gone from in front of him. They scraped the bowls for the last drippings that they could get, before those were yanked away and the door slammed shut, cutting them off from the light once again. The carriage door was yanked open some time later. The motion and torchlight built in instantly woke Dante up. He looked at the doorway to see a different set of guards tossing in some bread this morning. This should tide you lot over. Just bread and a couple of loaves at that? Dante asked, confused. Don't push your luck. We can only give you what we get, the guard replied. I'm not complaining. I figured these people deserve a chance at something a bit better than just bread. They ate well enough last night. Now shut up and prepare for the ride. In the afternoon we'll be close to the capital. The door slammed shut roughly. The rattling of the carriage came to a stop after some long, grueling hours. With no light, it was hard to tell exactly how much time had passed, but it had, that much Dante was sure of. The carriage door was once again pulled open, letting a bright, sunny day spill in, blinding them for a moment. Prisoners are to exit the carriage at once. With a lot of moans, the others, a whole 15 people, got out before Dante did. He was being patient and waited, jumping out of the vehicle onto the solid dirt and feeling a little alive. Taking in a deep breath, he looked at the nearest soldier, who eyed him as well. "Has your captain asked for me yet, soldier?" "And why would he do that?" "Well, he wanted to talk to me about what I was caught with. Why else would he want to chat with a prisoner?" "No, he hasn't." "Well then, soldier, or guard, or whatever you are, I'll wait here until he calls for me." Another of the guards drew their sword, pointing it towards him. "You will move onto the holding area." "No, I won't. Either bring the captain to me or bring me to the captain. If you try and force me to go anywhere, I will go. It will end badly for you two." "You don't have a say in this matter. You're the original guard who spoke to me." "I don't want to add murder to my situation, but if you persist, then at least one of you will wind up dead and the other, maybe maimed." A crunch of footsteps on the gravel caught Dante's attention. It was to his right, but he didn't want to look that way, as he had a pretty good side view of things, and this man was now coming into view. "Soldier," the newly arrived man said. "Sir." "Release the man to me, and I will take care of him," stated the newly arrived man. "Our orders, though, sir, are to make sure the prisoners get where they're supposed to. This one will wind up in the holding area soon enough. He needs to talk to people before that happens, though." "Sir." A crisp salute passed between the two guard soldiers, and before the man turned to Mr. Dante. "Please follow me, Mr. Dante, and let's make this quick." "You know my name?" Dante asked. "I know lots, and yes, the captain who captured you wishes to have a chat, Mr. Dante." "Good. I finally get to explain the situation to someone who won't dismiss it out of hand." This man, though, who'd come to get him, was not listening as he was already marching away. Not taking a chance, Dante was quick to follow, since the soldiers, or guards, or soldier guards, or guard soldiers would be quick to make him regret not doing as ordered. Marched into a dining area. It was mostly empty of people. Dante was brought down to a long table to the captain from before. The chest he got from the lady sat on the table beside this man, and the captain waved for Dante to sit down across from him. "Major Jacob, none of what is to be said right about now will leave this room or be heard by any wandering ears. Is that okay?" "Well, I don't understand, but as you wish, Captain Henry. Am I allowed to actually know about any of this?" "Well, that is up to you. It would perhaps be better for all people involved if you didn't, but I do understand curiosity." "I will stay then, sir." The captain nodded that this was okay, and turned to Dante, and once again waited for him to sit down, which he had not done. "Henry, you really should treat people better." "Well, I didn't want to raise suspicion, not that this was your backup plan for getting out of the Duke's lair without raising suspicion." Yes, things are complicated, and you weren't sure of where things were going. You should have at least told me I was going to be a prisoner. And let everyone know that you were a spy for the king. I thought you wanted this whole operation to be kept a secret. Yes, it needed to be kept quiet until we were far enough away from the Duke. You could have let me go at that stop last night. Captain Henry gave him a hearty grin. He was enjoying this little moment. Having never sat down, Dante crossed his arms in front of him to show that he wasn't exactly happy with things. It was complicated, and I felt it was best not to challenge how that situation was playing out. I can't be too careful, especially when it involves the king, and, those prisoners probably would have talked, Henry pointed out. They might have, but no one would really listen to them. This only leaves the question of, have you found what you wanted from what I gave you, and if you're going to throw me in with the prisoners? Now why would I do something silly like that, Dante? Get rid of me? I know too much, and that's a risk to the sanctity of this kingdom. That would be my guess, anyway. Relax. No one wants that. The king likes you, and doesn't want that. You're the best spy we have, who is able to just get about anywhere and at any time they like. No one is going to get rid of you. Yet, Henry. Yet. He studied his friend and Captain Henry of the Royal Guard. There was little chance of getting the man to lie or getting a lie out of him, but there was always that bit of one which worried Dante, since it meant the man wasn't really trustworthy in his opinion. You'll be given you some money and walked out of the prison grounds late tonight. For obvious reasons, our journey together will end here. You'll have to make your own way back to the capital, though. It isn't far away, and yes, before you ask. For the record, the man known as Dante Maximus, or Dante Smithy, or whatever it is that you were using as the nickname, will forever remain in the jail here. In record here only. It's a good thing I stayed here to learn that fact, though I will need to erase that man at some point from the books, Captain Henry. A month's time should do, Major Jacob. Money will be sent to you, and then you will lose that book, or do whatever you wish with it, and that name on it. I'll advise you to lose the name, or have this mysterious man in name only die a mysterious death. It all felt rather standard and run-of-the-mill stuff, if a bit all over the top. Who would want to go chasing down a criminal name? The Duke would have to be in the King's good graces to chase things down to get any of that information, and right now that wasn't the case, according to the brief glimpses of information and papers he'd collected on the man. Though, as Dante thought this over, a question struck him as he stood there taking all of this in. How soon am I expected to meet with the King? Assuming that he will want to meet with me after all of this. Oh, as soon as you can, Dante. It probably won't be easy to get into the city, though. Everyone is on high alert, thanks to some recent threats while you were away. If that is all, I'd like to get back to some food, and I'm sure the Major here can get you some from the kitchen. Major Jacob nodded to Dante and swung his arm up towards the nearby door. While Dante didn't exactly trust it, since he'd been taught long ago never to trust anything, there wasn't much to do other than start walking, so he did that. Dante had been tucked away in the kitchen for the rest of the day, and some food was given to him as well as a box of supplies that was delivered from a guard as he was exiting the walls of this prison. He had made sure to check over this box once he was sure he was alone. Back where it was a heavily wooded area, it was a perfect time to check it over. It was just major supplies, and everything was good, so then he closed the box and found that Major Jacob, the man approached, pointing out the lights pretty far off that were the capital. You'll want to head that way and see where you're going. Thank you for your help. I know this can't have been easy for you, and I'm sure the King will reward you and your workers for your efforts, Dante told Major Jacob. You could make it a little easier on me. Meaning out the money? Dante asked, just to make sure he knew where this conversation was going. Yes, Henry said you got some money. With the roll of his eyes, Dante reached into his pocket and pulled out a small coin purse, one that carried not much gold, silver, and copper, but enough. He tossed it over to the Major, who caught it and opened it with a quick motion, then looked up to Dante. Not much here. To get to the city and through it, I doubt anyone would need much. To keep quiet, I need more, Jacob said. No, I gave you what I gave you, and what I have. That was a lie, and he figured that Jacob was at least aware of that, but as he set off, the man did not try and stop him. A surprising thing, but Dante was sure that sooner rather than later, he would have to deal with some sort of situation. End of part 1 of A Spy's Dagger. Thank you for listening.